All right, guys, let's bring it back in. We're going to have a chance to eat dinner together in a little bit, and so you'll get to talk a little bit more. But since there's only one right answer to the worst ice cream flavor, we're just going to say it all out loud together on the count of three. Out loud, what's the worst ice cream flavor? 1, 2, 3, mint chocolate chip. Yes. Okay, I heard at least one. Mint chocolate chip. Mint has no business inside of ice cream, okay? No business. Stick with your candy, small pocket candies, mint. All right, you have a piece of paper that hopefully you got given on the way in. If you didn't, there's extra copies there on the back. I want to spend the first couple minutes, if you were here at the training in May, just to remind you, and if you haven't seen this yet, maybe for the first time, understanding what we are hoping from you as leaders of groups at Storyline and what we are expecting of our groups at Storyline. There are few places in our church where people can be known in a way like they can in what you are about to lead heading into this fall. To be known and to be loved is at the very core of what it means to be a Christian. That's what God has done for us in the most pure way and in the most extensive way that's possible. We can't get to that level of knowing someone else, that God looks at you and says, I know you. And everything that comes along with that, the past you, the present you, the future you, he says, I know you, and he says, I love you. And you and I have been changed by those two facts. I know you and I love you. And we want to be a part of seeing other people changed by those two facts as well. And we want to represent and embody that to others. We want to be a representative of God that says, look, we see you, we know you, we hear the things you say you're struggling with, and we love you. And we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus in that situation. You guys are playing such an important role in the discipleship of our church by doing that each and every week and throughout the semester. So this is a little bit of that encapsulated in a few statements and phrases. Let's look at the leader expectations first. Again, I'm just going to kind of fly over this because we've got a lot of really important logistics to get through, and that's really what tonight. We want you to leave feeling like you've got all the tools in your hands that you need to be successful and to feel like you're really in the flow of groups at Storyline. But first, leader expectations. There's three things that we are using to kind of mark you. We're looking at this room and saying, what are common denominators of this room? And how do we make more of you? Okay, that's the conversations we've been having. What defines you and how do we make more of you? And these are the three things that we came up with. One is a gathering leader. To lead a group at Storyline, you got to like people. Like you got to, people have to be able to get together with you and think, that wasn't bad, okay? That at bare minimum, you know? They have to think, I enjoyed that time that I got to spend with that person and those people. And a gathering leader is thinking first and foremost about bringing people into that space. To when somebody is walking into your home or into the room that you're meeting, that you have this hat on of, I want to help gather them into the group that we have. I want to help them feel welcome. I want to help them feel comfortable. There's a way that this even goes to the next level. And so many of you guys are this. And honestly, we have more people at our church that are this, and we're trying to call up into leadership, is you're really good at just getting people together. Like when Storyline people get together, many of you are at the heart of those gatherings. Does that make sense what I'm saying? That might be, hey, come over and watch the Broncos game. Or that might be, hey, we're making dinner tonight and hoping you guys could just come and hang out with us. Or, hey, we're going to the park and we would love for y'all to come and hang out. Or whatever that gathering spot or event is, that this group of people is at the very front of the line, gathering others around them. It's such a gift and a skill that you have and that we want to continue to grow in people here at Storyline. The other is a growing disciple. Not only are you good at gathering people and kind of have that social grace of welcoming in, but you yourself are walking with Jesus. We are not a group of social clubs in this room. That we could be. I want you to know that. We could say out loud, look, this really is just about community. And we want people to flourish as humans, and that means having friends. So can you guys just make as many friends as you can and help us make more friends. Now, do we want people to be friends? Of course we do. Friendship is such a gift. But growing disciple means, first and foremost, you are saying, I'm not just here because I like people. I'm here because I love God, and he has changed me, and I want to be a part of that work in other people's lives. So a growing disciple, that means spending time in God's word. That means praying. That means gathering with God's people. The growing disciple part of this cannot be overlooked. This night, we're going to talk through a lot of logistics. Those logistics mean nothing if you are not walking with Jesus, because we are about discipleship here, and we want your discipleship to be at the front of the line. That means we want to be helpful to you in your discipleship. This room is not a group of people that we just want stuff from you. We want stuff for you. We want you to be before you do. We want you to be a disciple, to be a child of God, and then to be able to serve out of that overflow. So growing disciple is a really important part of leader expectation. The third one is a genuine brother or sister. The heart behind this is authenticity was a word that we kind of have wrapped up into this as well, but trying to bring some family language into that. We want you to set the pace in the living rooms and dining rooms and circles of chairs for what it means to be open with what's really going on in life, to be genuine. The amount of work that we get to see God do is almost directly related to how much we're willing to share. God never promises to forgive something that we don't give to him. He promises to forgive when we confess our sins, right? That principle is also true in the way that we gather with one another, that there's not much I can do to help you if you never tell me what's really going on. You're not allowing other people in. And so in this room, we want to be setting the pace for that in our groups of open, authentic, and genuine brother-sister sharing so that we can allow others in to ultimately see God bring redemption into broken things in our lives. The leader expectations then push us into group expectations. I'm not going to spend as much time on this because, again, we hit these pretty hard in May. But, man, some of you guys, y'all have been leaders here for years and years, okay? Like maybe even since the beginning of Storyline, you've been leading. In the last year, we really revamped our leader application, okay? So those of you who got grandfathered in, you don't know what you missed out on, but the people that just laughed had to spend about an hour working on an application that went really deep on some of these things that we're talking about in leader expectations. But group expectations, scripture, we don't want to be a ministry that leaves out the Bible. Scripture is one of our values as a church. The Bible's for everyone. And we believe that sitting in a circle talking about the Bible together is a very important part of discipleship. One of the differences between Bible study and Storyline groups is in Bible study, we're coming having done a lot of pre-work. We are going to have a master teacher involved. And in groups, we normally will not have a lot of pre-work. You're going to see in our calendar, we are going to have some bursts of that. But we also are not going to have a master teacher. And I hope that's relieving in this room, that this is not everybody gathers in your home for you to give all the answers, but it's for us to share. This is what we have seen God teach us through the scriptures. So we want scripture to be a part of our group template meeting. We also want prayer. Care is such a huge part of these groups that you lead. Many of the stories that you shared coming out of the last school year about the wins that had happened were from people praying with one another and caring for one another in hard seasons, whether that's family tragedy or whether that's a momentary crisis or just long-term needs that groups have come around others with. We want every group to include praying for one another. So we want our groups to include scripture and be Bible-based. We want them to include prayer and to be praying and caring for one another. But we also want to be gospel family. This one hits on the genuine brother or sister. As you lead out, we want members of your groups to be open and authentic and share what's really going on in their life. We, on Sunday mornings, there's a part of Sunday morning that naturally is going to feel like, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm fine too. And we shouldn't break that down. I don't want you to go up to every single person you meet on Sunday and say, guess what? My life is falling apart. Let me tell you all the 13 ways. Like, there's a goodness to, yeah, I'm doing okay. Like, I don't really know you that well, so we'll just do the okay, fine. It's really good to see you. Glad you're here. But Storyline groups cannot be that. We cannot stop there in the rooms that you are leading. And that is going to change with you, or that's going to begin with you setting the pace. But it's also going to be the members of your group being willing to be vulnerable and say those things too. We want to be a gospel family. We want to be able to say things that are real and true, say things that are hard to one another, and know that our bond goes deeper than whether I think you're perfect or not. Like, whether you're perfect or not, we're family here. This is what the church is, that we want to love and serve one another in all seasons. The last part of the group expectations is multiplication. And the heartbeat of that is a joy of groups ministry is that really it's an unlimited number of discipleship seats. In men's Bible study and women's Bible study, we are pretty creative if you're involved in any of those atmospheres for how many tables we can fit in places and how many chairs we can put into the 1-year-old classroom for women's Bible study and the second grade class. I mean, women are everywhere here on Thursday morning and Thursday night. So we're creative. But there's a sense in which there's just a limited number of seats that can get put in the discipleship room or on this campus. But we can continue adding living rooms till kingdom come almost. And so for us to see the type of growth we've had in the last couple years, we really believe this ministry is going to be the primary vehicle for bringing new people into discipleship relationships here at Storyline. So we believe in multiplication, even from the beginning. Many of you guys launching new groups this fall, which, by the way, end of last semester, we were in the mid to high 30s at number of groups here at Storyline. And heading into the fall, we're currently at 51. Which is amazing. Yeah, you guys have heard us ask and ask and ask, hey, do you have any leaders? Hey, do you have any leaders? And some of you are sitting in here because someone asked you, hey, I think you could be really good at this. Would you be willing to explore it? And I couldn't be more thrilled that we have 51. I hope by January we have 60. So I'm going to continue working to develop and grow and cultivate and equip leaders because we want to grow the number of seats for discipleship here at Storyline. We're not content with just half the people here on a Sunday morning being a part of discipleship during the week. We want to see that percentage continue to grow because we want to lead with discipleship. That's who we want to be as a church. We don't want that to be a small minority of our church family that's really following Jesus. We want that to be all of us. And we believe groups is going to be a huge part of that. So that's why multiplication is at the top of the list when we're thinking about who we are. In the sheet that you have, we're going to go over a couple of groups improvements. These are more logistical, and we're going to shift a little bit into what some of the nuts and bolts of this next semester are going to look like. So hang with me here, but there are 3 ways that we're looking to improve some of the logistics of groups right now. First is we need to know where you're meeting and when you're meeting. This is super important. You're going to hear a little bit more about why it's important. Because August 18th is a big date for us, and we need that information as soon as possible so that we can be ready for August 18th. So if you have not let us know yet, please let us know where you're meeting so we can get it in the right place and location, and when you're meeting so we can let people know. This is not only for people who are trying to add more members. Don't hear that. This is every single group, because even if you're a group that's been around for 10 years, you might switch which house you're meeting at or where you're located. And so we just need to reconfirm, yes, this is when we're meeting and this is where we're meeting. So we really would love for you to fill that out. You have this code in your email as well. So if you don't do it right now, you have that in your email. Another way that we're trying to improve some information, I might have clicked the wrong slide here. Don't give me a clicker. This is going to go south. All right. I'm just going to keep clicking until it says what I want it to say. Isn't that how this works? Okay. That's still not it. I'm still clicking, guys, until, hey, nope. I think I already seen that one, right? Okay. Keep an accurate roster and take attendance every gathering. All right. I want to help as much as possible tonight, okay? There is an app for this. I know that sounds like such a little kid thing to say, but there is an app. It's called Church Center, okay? And if you have not heard of that, now would be a great time to look. It's only $5.99. I'm just kidding. It's free. It's free. And it connects to your, okay, I'm going to use some words here. Ask questions if you need them. It connects to your Planning Center profile, okay? Planning Center is kind of the church database that has all of our information in it. It's what we use to create groups and communicate with groups. Church Center connects with Planning Center, okay? We're all on the same page? Raise your hand if you got a question. But Church Center makes these things very simple. And so I would encourage you to grab it. Yeah. Yes. The reason being is Church Center is a very simple, direct way to use Planning Center. There's a way you can do it on your desktop or your laptop, and you don't have to have the app. I might be getting a little too technical here. Just download the app, I think, is the bottom line, and it'll make your life easier. The two things that we're asking you guys to help us do is, one, to keep an accurate roster. So you can go in and see who's in your group. And if you know, oh, those people moved away 6 months ago, we'd love for you to just go ahead and get them out of your roster. Or if you've already talked to a couple or a few people, friends that are joining, you can go ahead and add people in so that your roster is correct. Right now, we have about 500 people on rosters in all of our groups, in those 51 groups. Now, some of those are new ones, and so they have 0, and that's okay. We're going to add those as we go on August 18th, hopefully a lot of them. But we want to, if it's really, we have 600 people in groups, then your roster is how we know that. Does that make sense? You tracking with what I'm saying? We don't know how many people are regularly a part of our groups unless you update your roster with who those people are. Or maybe it's really only 250, and I'm up here lying saying we have 500 people in groups ministry, and I don't want to do that either. Please don't make me a liar. Let's just make sure we got the right data in the right place. The other thing is taking attendance every gathering. That does not take long at all, but just helping us know how often people are gathering. Sam Harrell is a guy on our staff team. He works with our finance team, but he's been helping with some of the group's world in the transition. He has created a training video that shows you how to do these two things. It's a very helpful, he's sitting there and you're watching him do this stuff, and then you can copy him and do it. And that will come to your email this week, so that if you have a lot of questions, then you are going to get a step-by-step guide in your email that will show you how to do it using a video. I'm going to hold off on questions. You guys throw up a hand if you got one you think everybody needs to hear. All right, and the third way that we want to continue to be improving groups is that Tony would love to talk with you. So if there's something that you need, please reach out to him. Tony's a QR code guy, and he's good at them. So he made these slides, and he has put a QR code that is his contact info. I don't even know how to do that. But if you would like to download his contact info, I'm guessing it would happen if you scan that QR code. I already have it, so I didn't need to scan it. Full disclosure, don't know if it works, but I trust Tony. All right? Tony is 9 days into the role, and so he has been a member of Storyline for a little over a year. They've been attending for about a year and a half. He's a lifetime Arvada guy, so has a lot of connections, knows a lot of people. I'm really excited about him taking over leadership of this ministry and even a few others around our church. He couldn't be here tonight. Again, he's only been on the job for 10 days, and it was his daughter's 17th birthday yesterday, and they had an event already bought and planned for tonight. And we all were in agreement with Tony. Be a good dad tonight. Do not cancel on your daughter to be here. So he really wanted to be here, but he loves his daughter more than he loves you guys, and you guys should be proud of him for that. So let him know if you need anything. He is your primary point of contact. I'm also going to be in and around, so feel free to reach out to me, but he will be very hands-on this semester and going forward. All right, let's flip over. If you guys have your sheet of paper, we have a calendar on there that I want to talk through a little bit of the content for this coming semester. I hope this is going to be a helpful addition to what you know is not just you're getting a weekly email, but you're getting a pretty good snapshot of the next few months of what your group's content is going to look like. We'll have the same thing again for the spring semester, give you a nice big snapshot so you can ask whatever questions. One of the things that has been important to me over the last month or two has been in separate ways, but they relate, trying to better define what do storyline groups do, so more definition, but also give more creativity within that definition. So this is not just, here's the one thing, you have to do this, and this is the only thing that you'll ever get. Okay, that would be no creativity. But also, there were groups that did very different things in the last year. And so going from Bible study in Revelation all the way to watching video curriculum to talking about sermon, it was honestly not what we would hope, as far as we kind of know what this ministry wants to look and should look like, and we want to help everybody run that direction. That's a change for this semester. We really want to narrow the focus or help set some parameters and guidelines around how we can best make disciples in groups at Storyline. So this is a first attempt at that for the fall semester. I'm going to walk you through a couple things. The first you see on here is the Adult Discipleship Connect Day. We're going to talk very in-depth about that next, but hold that thought, and then we're going to get to it. The next thing you see is a sermon-based series in Philippians. So Pastor JT is going to preach through the book of Philippians from September 8th through October 13th. And this series on Philippians is going to include for you a sermon discussion guide that probably won't look like what we had last semester. So there could be a week where, hey, here's your 4 questions, and they're more generic, but this will probably be a step towards complexity in the type of guide that you get. Maybe digging a little more into Philippians or a little more into how Pastor JT is preaching it that week, but a sermon-based discussion guide that is maybe a little step more complicated than here's the 4 questions that you're going to get every week. That was something that we heard loud and clear on the survey feedback coming out of this last semester, was that it was really difficult for you guys to lead good, healthy discipleship conversations when you only had the same 4 questions every week. And so we're not saying there won't be weeks where, hey, here's the 4 questions, but that's not the template going forward, is here's only your 4 questions. The next thing you're going to see on there is a group social event week. One of the ways that we want to give some creativity within the guidelines is we want to have a chance for you to just say, I can follow the rules by not talking about the Bible tonight. Okay, I know some of you rule followers, and y'all are already started meeting, and you're going to be meeting all the way through Christmas Day, and you're going to have a Bible study going, and there's just no deviating because that's the rules, and we do it. Well, I've written in here, there's a rule for you just to hang out 1 week, okay? So even for the rule followers, do something like go to the park or go drive up through the mountains and have lunch somewhere, or whatever your social event's going to be. It's not too far from Halloween, and so maybe there's something you could do in a neighborhood where we're going to have the best house on the block for Halloween, and that's going to be our social event. So we want to give you not just a chance, but kind of build it in that this is discipleship, but it's community-based discipleship. We do want to be friends. That's a win for you and for me. It's a win for our church family if there's times where we are just hanging out. The next thing you're going to see on there is a devotional in 1 Corinthians. So October 27th through the week before Thanksgiving, we're going to be teaching, it's not going to be verse by verse through 1 Corinthians, but it's going to be chapter by chapter through 1 Corinthians. So not quite as in-depth as the Philippians, but it's still going to be a series through 1 Corinthians. And we're going to work hard for this to feel like an alignment series for you guys. So not just, hey, there's a few questions that kind of go along with it, but this is the spot where we want to actually have some pre-work leading into your group gatherings for those, I think it's 4 weeks, if I'm doing my math right there. So for 4 weeks, there's going to be some way, I'm not 100% sure yet, if it's a piece of paper that we're putting in everybody's hands or if it's a PDF that gets emailed out, but something where people see, hey, here's the stuff we want you to have accomplished before we gather for our group meeting that week. And it's going to align very closely with what JT's preaching here on Sunday mornings. So that's an alignment series, if you'll let me use that phrase that was not very familiar to us right now, is not just sermon-based discussion, but it's devotionals that correlate to the sermon. Does that make sense? We'll feel more along the lines of Bible study type stuff where here's my workbook. We won't print out workbooks. It's only 4 weeks, so don't hear me. It's not that far. But I'm trying to give you some scope to what I'm talking about. It's also not, here's the same 4 questions we're asking every week. It's, hey, this is given to you so that you can better understand 1 Corinthians. Make sure you do it before you come, and it will make our conversations even better for these 4 weeks. Yeah, Anna. Yes. So she's asking about timing and when we would get something like that. When would you get something like that? We want to have this built out ahead of time. So we won't be creating this content on Friday and then you getting it on Sunday. We want to say more like, here's 4 weeks of what you're going to be doing in groups until Thanksgiving. Here it is at the beginning of the series. So less about like what day am I going to get it, and more we want it to feel like something different that we're doing all together. Yeah, what other questions? Specifically about devotional. We'll get to some bigger picture stuff when we get through the whole calendar, but I want to make sure that you guys understand that. Again, this is trying to give more creativity within the guidelines, right? This is something different than what we've said we've done in the last year or two, at least since I've been here. We want this to feel a little more substantial, and also a little more work. That's not necessarily the MO of Storyline groups. That, hey, this is something you're in because you want to get a lot of work done. It's more, I'm here because I want to have relationships that point me to Jesus, and we're going to do that through the Bible and through prayer. But for a short little burst, we're going to add something a little different in there. And we're going to make it through, and you'll make it, and your group will make it, and then we'll get back to a little bit of what used the usual template, which is sermon-based, again, through Advent, and that's just a couple weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I would highly encourage you to not have a usual gathering on Thanksgiving week. If there's something, Friendsgiving kind of thing you want to do, of course, you may do that. But it is really a good thing for us to have some rest rhythms in the middle of the semester. If you look at this, we go from September 8th to basically December 10th, 15th, right in there. So it's really about 3 months. So I think that 12 to 14 week time frame is what we're thinking for a semester. There's some breaks built into that. There's a social gathering built into that. So we're not trying to say, hey, if you join a group at Storyline, you have now signed your life away every single Tuesday night until you decide to leave Storyline. Like, that's not the goal, you know? We want to have some rest rhythm in here, and so that's why we've put a Thanksgiving break. It's also why we have Advent as only a 2-week thing right now, so that there can be a Christmas break in there, or to give you space for a Christmas party if you want. But that sermon-based, we'll get back to questions related to what the sermon has been about that week. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is the details of Connect Day. So on the calendar, do you guys have questions that you think would be helpful for the whole group to hear? Yeah, Anna. Yeah, which Sunday? Yeah, we'll talk about the Connect Day. Great question. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's not impossible, but it's going to be tough. Ideally, the template would be meeting every week. So that's what this is built for every week. But every other week just means you have to cram more into the 2 that you have. I think probably the hardest one would be the devotional time, where we're trying as a church to feel a little more aligned around something. But obviously, when there's a sermon based in Philippians, just the weeks that you don't gather, you just wouldn't use the discussion guide that week and just pick up the next week with the discussion guide. Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to be a part of a group that's starting in September. I'm not leading it. I'm a member of it, so it's not my authority. I'm submitting to the leadership of another group leader. And he said, hey, I think it would be a great idea for us to meet every other week. What do you think about that? And I was like, I'm so glad that you asked. Because I think meeting weekly is such a healthy rhythm. And if we have to miss one, somebody could choose to meet every other week and that be a part of their schedule. And there's no guilt or, man, you're doing this thing wrong. I can't believe you're missing that one. But if you meet every other week and somebody misses one, now we're at once a month. And that just feels like such a harder place to build relationship. It's definitely easier if your group's been around a long time, that you already have relationship. But for us as a new group especially, I think it's hard if you can only get to see somebody once a month. So I don't want to give a hard and fast answer on that. I think there's a couple things I'd love for you guys to hear from me and from Tony is we want there to be a template. And we are going to have some variation off of the template. Some template things, okay? Don't hear this as a bad thing if you're not on the template. You gotta, can I have your trust with that? This is not me getting mad if you're not on the template. It's just to say, there should be a template, and then we can vary from it. Template. We would love groups at Storyline to be multi-generational. There are going to be a lot of groups that are not multi-generational, and that's a very good thing. Some of you are starting groups that are intentionally targeted to age groups, and I'm very supportive of that. Just hear me say, if somebody walked up to me and said, Josh, I would really like to start a community-based discipleship group at Storyline. What do you want that to look like? That's what I mean by template. I would say, well, I'd love for that to be multi-generational, to have some wisdom speaking and some youth and energy speaking, if that coming together. Another template is sermon-based. We're going to vary from that. You see it, some of it written in here with a devotional, and in the spring, hopefully, there being some sort of video-based diversion from that too. But the template for us is going to be, we're talking about the sermon and opening up the Bible, because every single sermon here is tied to the Bible, and we want to discuss that together and what God's teaching us through scriptures. Another template thing would be, we would love to be weekly for a semester gathering. So we don't want it to be signing your life away, but we want to have a start date and an end date, and we want to commit to weekly in much the way that our Bible studies and our institute operates on that same kind of calendar. So is that helpful for just template idea? And no, there's going to be some variation, but if I could push people towards a template, those would be the 3 things that would be helpful. Well, he's probably going to watch the recording of this. So Jordan, I love you, man. And yes, he listened to me. I think. Yeah, Bill. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about that in the coming days and weeks and months. I feel like I would be getting a little bit ahead of us if I started coming in hot on that right now. So there will be some vision meetings in September that will really bring some clarity around that. What other questions? Okay, great. Well, Adult Discipleship Connect Day, okay? This is, I really want to focus in on this one. So come back in and track with me if I lost you during the Q&A. One of the hardest things about what you do is, how does somebody know about it? You don't meet here. You don't walk through the lobby saying, hey, I'm leading a group, would love any friends. How do we let people know that you are trying to be a part of discipleship here at the church in your sphere or in your community or in your neighborhood, and they should be a part of it? Well, the 18th, we are going to have a Sunday devoted to connecting people to their next step of discipleship. The whole campus is going to feel different that day because we're trying to connect people to a next step. There's going to be at the fireplace, our men's and women's Bible studies are going to have QR codes that people can scan and sign up and register. We're going to have volunteers there talking about any questions people have. Our resource center is going to have information on baptism. And if anybody is feeling like I have put my faith in Jesus, but I have not obeyed him in the step of baptism, that those conversations are going to be happening at the resource center. This next part, though, is where I really want to bring you in on. The gym is going to be completely and fully dedicated to Storyline groups. Okay, we want the gym to be as packed as Trunk or Treat was last October, just people everywhere. We actually lined up the tables, and we can do it. We can fit 50 circle tables around the gym. That is a place you or someone from your group could represent your group if people came in to say, I would love to know more about community-based discipleship at Storyline. There will be an announcement here and at every service saying, please today take your next step of discipleship with us at Storyline. I'm preaching this coming Sunday, and that's a big action step of mine, is to say, next week, we want to challenge you to take your next step of discipleship with us here at Storyline. And for that to happen, we need your help, okay? That gym could be one of the most depressing places on campus that day if no one's in there. Hey, I would love to join community at Storyline, and then crickets are playing over the loudspeakers and no one's in there. So we would love to have every single group represented at all 3 services that day. That does not mean you have to be the representative, okay? Here's the idea. I hear the call from someone making an announcement, and I think, you know what? I really do need to be involved in something here. I've been basically just touching my steering wheel, walking in and out for the last 2 years. I'm going to join something, and a group seems like a good thing because my last church had something like that. So I'm going to go into the gym. On their way into the gym, they receive a card that has information about Storyline groups that's helpful for them. They enter into the gym, and they see, probably the first thing, is going to be balloons that go 10 to 15 feet in the air that list on them areas that we have groups. So there will be a Westminster bunch of balloons, and the tables right around there will be in the Westminster area. Or they'll have East Arvada balloon set, and there'll be tables around there around East Arvada. Wherever you are, we're still trying to get some of our info. So honestly, we don't know exactly where if we have 15 groups in Leiden Rock, then that might be one of the balloon sets, is all these tables are just Leiden, and we're going to make it to where people can see easily when they walk in, oh, that's close to where I live. Oh, I should go over there and talk to those people, okay? Everybody tracking with me so far about the experience on Sunday, August 18th? Okay, they walk in. They come up to, let's say they have a table in the back left corner. They kind of weave their way through, and they make it. On that table is going to be a piece of paper where they can write their name and their email to get information about this group that they're at. Let's say it's the Navy group over there. It's not, because I'm not leading. Jordan, that's you. But on the corner, they'll have somebody's name with the group, and they'll be able to list, hey, I'm interested in this. I can hear some of the objections in your mind right now, but our group's closed. We really don't want anybody to put their name on our list, so is it better if we just don't come? That's a really good question, and I appreciate your consideration, but we would love for you to still be there with a piece of paper, because the piece of paper serves 2 purposes, okay? One is for you to get their information, especially you guys who are starting new groups, to say, hey, here's 10 people. I can email them all this afternoon, and we might actually could do this thing. This might be real. There's people that want to join this thing. The second option, though, is that Tony has 10 people that he can reach out to and help them find the group that best fits them, okay? So it's not a waste if you are saying, hey, my living room's cramped. We already have 18 people sitting in 16 seats. I really don't want anybody else's name on this list. Hey, Tony will figure that out. You just be as personable as possible in that space. Because if you walk into that room and you see, wow, there are only 10 groups here at Storyline? How's that even possible? Does anybody have community here? Then we're saying a message we don't want to say, right? We want all of us to be there. And it's okay if we say, hey, our group has a lot of people, but we'd love for you to put your name down and we want to help you find a group that's good for you. Or maybe you're a young person and it's a young person that walks in and there's a couple groups in your area, but they would like to talk to you. And you can help bring them into community, even if it's not to your group, because they're gonna say hey to you. Or maybe it's an older person walking in and all they see are 30 and 40-year-olds except you, and they beeline to you and you can say, we would love for you to be a part of this, because most of our groups are multi-generational and you're gonna have people in your age bracket no matter which one of these groups you go to. That type of welcoming presence is what we want. So that might go ahead and spark some ideas of who you don't want representing your table in the gym on Sunday, August 18th, okay? Gathering leader, okay? Think gatherer if you think, oh, who could I ask to take my place if I can't be there? But we would love for that gym to be full of people, for those papers to be full of names. And honestly, guys, right now I would guess adding 10 new groups, we probably have room for about 150 more people in groups at Storyline right now. Did you know we grew by 600 people last year? I think we could have 300 names on pieces of paper if we have a whole Sunday devoted to you should be a part of this. And who knows what's going to come out of that? Maybe we have more leaders step out and say, I'm not willing to let 200 people want to be a part of discipleship and not be able to at our church. I'll step up and lead. But we haven't had that yet because we haven't had a day like this where we've said, we really want you to get in with us and be a part of discipleship. And so we are all kind of guessing, well, maybe there's a lot of people that want and we just don't have enough groups, or it seems like we should. And Sunday, August 18th is kind of our prove it day. That's how we're thinking about it. We're thinking we want to get as many people to express interest as possible so we can really understand the need that's in front of us, okay? Making sure through here I don't have any other details. The things that we're hoping for you from that day are to have an ambassador at your table that's welcome to be you after all three services. So you don't have to be before the 8 o'clock, but after all three services. And that will take probably 15 to 20 minutes is normally the window between services. And then ours will all be in the gym. We'll all have an individual table. They'll be grouped geographically. And your job, or whoever's there, is going to greet people, answer questions just about what groups are, and then assist in getting them connected to your group or making sure their name's on the list. That day, the list will be, Tony will take a picture of every list at the end of the day. So he'll have all the information, and then your group is welcome to take the hard copy home. So you can communicate, but Tony will also know, here's all the people who wrote their name down that day. Okay? It's a big day. It's a big ask. It's a big deal. I would love for you guys to ask any questions you have so that you feel clarity around what that day is going to look like for us as a church. Yeah, Lydia. Yeah, that's a great question. So registering is such a weird thing in groups. For Bible study, you're like, I know I'm going on Monday night if I'm a guy. I paid my money. I got my book. I'm in. But groups is like, do we like each other? You know, like, am I vibing with your feng shui? Like, how are we feeling about this? And so I wouldn't use the word registration, but I would use interested. And that group is definitely, whoever's written on that piece of paper is interested in your group, and I would reel anybody in that you think you can. What you can know is that Tony's probably going to follow up with you and say, hey, I saw you had 32 people on the list. Doesn't seem likely that 32 people are going to join your group. How can I be helpful? And there will be some conversation around that. But yeah, I think if you're saying register means interested, yes. If you're saying register, like, do we need to do something else? Not until they would visit probably, and then you would kind of get a sense of, should I add them to the roster or not? Yeah, Allie. Yeah, they're welcome to sign up on multiple lists. Yep. Worst case is they get a lot of emails and they can just tell us to stop emailing them. But if they have 2 or 3, like, I think a lot of families will say, you know, I could do Tuesday or Thursday, but that's it. So I'm going to just say, hey, I can come to these 2, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and then we'll just see which one I like. The culture for us needs to be that people can show up and then leave and not ever come back. And we're saying, hey, high five. Hope you find somewhere that is a better fit for you, right? It's not the first time you come, hey, you're on the list, you're in the group, you're on the text chain, here's 72 prayer requests, right? Like there's a little bit of a testing here. And so, yeah, we would love for people to have multiple that they could test. And even that you guys as leaders could check in. I feel like if I had put my name on 2 lists and both leaders followed up with me, that would tell me a lot about Storyline in a way that I think is true, which is we care about people. It's a good question. Yeah, Eric. Yep. Yep. Tony will follow up if your group is closed, which that's a different conversation for a different day. But if you're saying we really don't want anyone else and I've got 10 people on the list, Tony will take that. But if you would like to invite people to your group, even if you only have spot for 4, but 8 show interest, I would invite 8 and just see what happens because they're probably not all going to show up, or at least not at the same time. And then as people come and go, we would love to keep that dialogue open with Tony of, hey, this person never showed up, just wanted you to know, and he can take and run from there. Yeah, Jody. Great point. Yeah, yeah, that's a great point, and I agree with you 100%. A lot of that sign up is really an interest form kind of thing, and I would say y'all salespeople know the words better than I do, but those leads they're not 100%, right? Like there's I don't know what I'm talking about. That's right, we're not going to close everyone. What other questions do you guys have? These are great questions. I am under the impression that we have some grandfathered leaders in that are not members, but our goal moving forward is that all leaders will be members. Yep. Yeah, this is one of those areas that we would say you are exerting influence over other people. There are some places you can serve at Storyline that you don't have to be a member. You can greet, you can help make coffee, you could be on the parking team. I believe even production is on that list of you don't have to be a member, but to serving kids, really anywhere where we think this is a key part of making disciples person to person. We want to have that as a standard line that we all know. Yes, this person believes what we believe. They're trying to live the way that the Bible teaches, and they're in line with the leadership of Storyline. Good question. Yeah. Yes. The question is, can people who are not a part of Storyline come to a group? And the answer is overwhelmingly yes. We would love that. I think there are some people that's such an easier step than coming here on Sunday morning is to say, hey, would you just come over to my house? I would probably call it a Bible study. Hey, we're have a little Bible study at our house, talking about the Bible. And yeah, we would love for that to feel invitational. It's a great question. Yeah, Rachel. Yeah. Yeah, I would not say the question was about when do new groups start. If I've got somebody that would really like to lead, what's the time frame around that? We are looking at January as our next kind of kick date of, hey, we've got 10 new groups, would love for people to join them. But honestly, how many names we get on that list on Sunday the 18th could change my mind pretty fast. If we've got 100 people that need a place to be discipled at Storyline, then we'll do everything in our power to start more this semester to get there. But many of you guys know Dan and Joan Toppin are leading a group of new leaders. That's the role that they're playing in our church family, which is an incredible blessing of people who are becoming leaders of Storyline groups. Will spend 3 to 4 weeks with them first, learning what is a group, what do we want this to look like, what's our vision for it, what are the expectations, and then they're launched out. And so we want to have a next round of that at some point this semester and then be able to launch into January is the current thinking. Yeah. great question. There's going to be a piece of paper on every table, and you'll have one table. Every group will have one table. And that piece of paper is just for your group names and emails. Maybe even phone number too might be on there. I don't know. And the master list will be created from those by Tony taking a picture of each piece of paper, and he'll create something separate that you don't really need to worry about. Yeah, follow up. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we'll have 35 people on a sheet because people will probably self-opt out like, oh, that's a lot of names on that. I don't know that I'm going to sign up for one with 40 names on it. But if you did, then I would say email those top 20 and then let Tony have the next 15, that kind of thing. But we can figure that out as needed, case by case. Nothing. Yeah, nothing to get bogged down in. These are great questions, guys. I don't have a lot more to talk about, so don't worry. I'm not going to keep you for 30 more minutes. If you have a good question, throw it out there. All right, you might have heard from Tony that there was a prize, and I am delighted to announce who the prize winner is. So the prize is dessert for your home group delivered by Tony himself. So he's delivering dessert to your group. And I believe it was for if you had filled out your group's info form. Was that right? Is that how you got entered into the? Okay. So he will, I don't know if he's bringing ice cream or brownies or what, but he's bringing dessert to the Goodwin home group. Okay. If they start meeting every week. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know if there was some elder privilege in that. No. Tony did say he put it in a random generator on the internet, and the internet picked. So congratulations. Thank you for filling out the group's info form. Yeah. Well, enjoy your dessert. I hope that it is 0 calories. All right. Hey, I'm really grateful for you guys. I hope you know I mean it when I say it, that this group is impacting lives for eternity in the way that you guys are leading and serving and caring. And we want to be as helpful as you can. Tony, myself, anybody else that's a part of our staff team or the elders, we really want you to feel like you're equipped and supported, and that what you're doing carries the amount of the appropriate amount of weight that it does in the discipleship that's happening. So thank you for being a part of it. I'd love to pray over you guys, and then we will exit out and eat some barbecue and our own version of dessert tonight. Father, we together, God, we want to have hearts that break for the lostness of our communities. That there are men and women, that there are boys and girls who are storing up treasure that moth and rust are going to destroy, that are living for what they can see and feel and touch, and for nothing that will last for eternity. And God, we don't want to be okay with that. We want to have compassion on those around us. Lord, we want to see brothers and sisters in our church family grow in their discipleship. We want to see men and women, we want to see boys and girls take their next step in following you. We don't want to be a church that has believers who have known you for 30 years and they are as mature as a 3-year-old. Lord, we want to grow in our maturity. Help us as leaders, as members, as your children to be a part of your mission, to be gathering leaders, to be growing disciples, and to be genuine brothers and sisters that know your grace and forgiveness and goodness and kindness and reflect that to those around us. Lord, I pray that these men and women in this room would feel your encouragement. They would know your love, and that they would know their church family loves and supports them too. In Jesus' name I pray. And thank you for our food. Amen. Thank you, guys.